Now you can go and do the research yourself, but you don't have to because I already did. They fit wonderfully in there. One of the lightest weight things that you can add to a garage door. One of the best R values that you can add to a garage door. One of the cheaper solutions as far as purchasing the insulation materials. And it turns out to be the easiest. So 4 win-win-win-win-wins. How the heck are you? Welcome back to America's Funniest Handyman, where today I'm going to teach you some basics on how to install insulation on the inside of your garage doors. This is actually a garage that is doubles as a living space. It's part of a large carriage house for one of my customers, and she called me and asked me if I could do the insulation for these 3 large garage doors to help keep the space warm in the wintertime and cool in the summertime. So I did quite a bit of research, and it turns out that this thick foam, this is 1.5 inch thick foam, fits perfectly inside all of those little sections of garage door. And not only is this thick 1.5 inch foam fit wonderfully in there, it actually turns out to be both one of the lightest weight things that you can add to a garage door, turns out to have one of the best R values that you can add to a garage door, turns out to be the one of the cheaper solutions as far as purchasing the insulation materials, and it turns out to be the easiest. So 4 win-win-win-win-wins that you get when you do this type of insulation. Now you can go and do the research yourself, but you don't have to because I already did, and give you guys a few pointers on how to cut this stuff, how to measure it, how to cut it, and how to install it. The installation is actually pretty simple because it just pushes in there. You don't even really need any fasteners. We are going to be using some spray foam insulation to fill the voids that are left in different little spots. As you can see, I've already got 1.5 garage doors finished. I used three large sheets of 4x8 by 1.5 inch thick foam to get that done. And I got 3 more sheets for today. And today I'm going to do the tutorial because yesterday I learned the ins and outs of getting this done. I'm going to pass on all of that cool knowledge on to you guys. So as you can see, my tools are very basic. I've got a sharp utility knife, and I've got a nice sharp duct cutting knife for cutting some of the slimmer, trimming some of the thin parts off. I've got a tape measure, a good old-fashioned tape measure, and I've got a straight edge to make my cuts nice and straight. So, I know what all my measurements are for these different sections. You have to be careful because on these different sections, they're different heights. This is 2 inches bigger than these ones in here. You can't just take one measurement and think that they're all the same, even though they look very similar. So you have to be careful. Now what I'm doing is I'm measuring that measurement from here to here. I'm just measuring that exactly. And what it does is when I cut the foam, it's kind of snug, it's kind of tight. You just kind of wedge it in there, and then it's in, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And then I'm also using some spray foam insulation because there's little pockets that I can't get the foam into. So I'm using spray foam insulation in all these little voids to help maximize the R value of each individual garage door as I go. My utility blade isn't long enough to go all the way through. So I found a nice method where I do my cuts on one side, then I flip the thing over, and I do those same exact measurements on the other side, and I score all the way through the other side, and then it just snaps off nice and perfectly. And then I use this nice sharp longer blade knife to do cutting and trimming where I need to cut off just little bits and pieces. And then after I'm done cutting all of the pieces, I'll show you how I install it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to cut this lengthwise. I needed it to be 28 inches on this side. So I made a cut all the way down, and then I flipped it over and I made the same cut on the other side with my utility blade. And now you will see that it just snaps off boom, look at that.
Look at that. Okay.
So I'm going to set this one over to the side. And now I'm just going to do the same thing to make my smaller cuts. That's all.
Maybe you But when your stuff gets broke, what do? You give Tommy a call, whether it's large or small. There's no project he can't see through.
I cut one side, flip it over, cut the other side, and then boom, it just snaps off. So you don't have to use any extra blades or long stuff. And this is where I might use my longer blade if I need to trim off a corner, or if I need to cut off like 1/8 of an inch if one of them is like a hair too big. Some of these aren't exactly the same, so I use this longer knife to do some of that trimming. So now I'm going to cut the rest of these, and then we will come back and I will show you how to install them along with the spray foam insulation. But pretty simple, kind of time consuming. Don't underestimate the fact that I'm making this look really simple, but you do need to budget some time and some patience to make sure that all of your measurements come out. You don't want to waste a ton of foam. So that's all. We'll be back in a minute for the installation.
Let's laugh and learn from this handyman, with Kitty hold this by his side, fixing stuff in a serious way with a not so serious guy.
Well, all right, there it is. I hope you learned a lot. I sure learned a lot doing this project and researching this project and then practicing. I was very fortunate. I had 3 doors to practice on. You might only have just one. But anyway, this is a great way to insulate the front part of your garage, your thin garage doors that let a lot of cold air in the wintertime and a lot of hot air in the summertime. So that's it. Thanks again for joining me on America's Funniest Handyman. As always, thanks for letting me bring a whole lot of experience and a little bit of humor onto your job site.